Thank you, Honorable Member. As many, the Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Long Island.
Mr. Deputy, thank you. I rise on behalf of the wonderful, hard-working, and industrious people of Long Island, the people who I have the great privilege of serving in this place. You know, Mr. Deputy, I'm sure you can appreciate that there's truly no place like home. There's no greater feeling than being able to represent your hometown and the people who helped you in your upbringing, who helped you to become the person that you are. Mr. Deputy, I want to extend condolences to the family of Miss Jessima Cartwright Darwell of Hamilton's, Long Island, and also the family of Miss Audrey Barnett, who's a cousin of mine. So to Rosemary and Berkeley Smith and the entire family, I extend my sincerest condolences. I want to also congratulate the junior sailors of Long Island who recently traveled to New Providence and continued Long Island's strong performance in national sailing competitions at all levels. I want to also congratulate young Dakari Tynequest. Recently, Dakari won the gold in an international pool tournament in Las Vegas. And so to him and that entire team, congratulations. I will certainly have a cash prize for Dakari in the coming weeks. Congratulations to Mr. Felix Wells of Grace. He's a youngster who won the spelling bee in Long Island. And he's coming to Nassau in a short course to represent the Long Island district at the national competition here. And to Mr. Wells, he too will receive a cash prize and a tablet. Both are waiting on him. Mr. Deputy, Devon Charlton, who recently broke 2 world records this year, our record-breaking trendsetter. Devon's grandfather, Ansel Pratt, is from Long Island, as well as her grandmother, Ruth Minnis, both from Clarence Town. Her mother, Laura Pratt, the noted pharmacist, is of Long Island heritage. It's my good cousin at South Beach knows. And so I join the chorus of people who would like to extend congratulations to her, and who would also like to see the government change this policy where one is only rewarded for Olympic medals or Olympic record-setting time, so that Devon can be rewarded with land and cash and so on. I congratulate Devon. You know, Mr. Deputy, over the years, I know that we have never properly honored Elijah Obed, that great boxer. And I think we should move towards properly honoring him, whether we name something after him, a road, a building, something. But he certainly is perhaps the greatest boxer that we have ever produced in the Bahamas. I want to wish a happy 18th birthday to Michaela Brennan from myself and from your mother, Natasha. Everyone is so proud of you, Michaela. Enjoy your 18th birthday. And also a happy 91st birthday to Miss Iris Farquharson, who celebrated her birthday on Monday. She's the mother of my very good friend, Ms. Rachel Culmer, Patricia Major, another friend, Tanya Farquharson, president of the Long Island Association, Kayla Farquharson, Judy Rigby. Wonderful lady. You know, Mr. Deputy, I am grateful for the support of my people in Long Island. I'm also grateful for the support of my executive team. I cannot put into words how much the support, encouragement, efforts, and advice of these wonderful people mean to me. And I thank all of them for all that they do. Mr. Deputy, we have always been a people of pride, dignity, and hope. There was a time where there was a belief in the shared aspirations of all for the common good. There was a time when we could all talk about champagne dreams and caviar wishes, to quote the great Robin Leach. We all had those dreams for better education, better health care, better opportunities for our children and grandchildren. There was a time when persons on the side opposite, I heard it today, would claim that their ethos was to wipe the tears from every eyes. They described themselves as most progressive and liberal. Today, Mr. Deputy, we listen to rushed and evasive presentations. Those days are gone. The new day has not become a better day, and buyer's remorse has set in. Bahamians are experiencing some of the darkest days of governance ever in 295 years of parliamentary democracy. Obfuscation, evasion, and distraction. Never has any government, Mr. Deputy, sought to extract so much revenue from the people of the Bahamas. While everyone globe-trots, the economy is dragging, growing at a snail's pace of 1.1%. Only 1.1%. In other words, your people living on noodles, corned beef, and bologna. And they want to know, how could you take so much money from our pocket in taxes and still burst a $238 million hole in the budget deficit projection in only 6 months? Mr. Deputy, the IMF projected triple the projected loss from the last budget period. And the mid-year budget figures are consistent with that projection by the IMF. We see an increase in revenue that is outstripped by expenditure, particularly discretionary expenditure, like travel and appointments that make no sense to many. We see a pension liability that is underfunded by $3 billion. We see no noticeable return on the investments or on investments of the various travel expeditions. When will we profit? When will we see a profit on the carbon credit initiatives? When will that profit be delivered? Mr. Deputy, Bahamians want to know how, after 2.5 years of huge tax receipts, how is it that multiple wards at PMH have not been renovated? Why, 5 years after starting, has the accident and emergency department of PMH not yet been completed? Bahamians want to know, why is there only enough infusion pumps to run 10 ICU beds when the ICU unit has 20 beds? 200,000 could pay for pumps to reopen ICU, I'm advised, and that 200,000 was spent on a trip to Orlando. The people want to know, why family island clinics, like those in Long Island, my constituency, lack basic medicine, a working morgue, such as at the Dedmanski Clinic? Why is the infrastructure falling to pieces? We continue to await a budget that seeks to ensure real change to the socio-economic status quo that we currently see. In the Bahamas, we know that commercial banks continue to make a killing with interest rates as high as 21% and charges on every single transaction, every transaction. So not only must we move to enhance consumer protection measures for the vulnerable and the sometimes desperate borrowers, but we must also incorporate a higher corporate tax on the banking sector. Mr. Deputy, indeed, we must broaden the platform for greater ease of doing business for Bahamians. I've long supported the implementation of a national lottery, the profits of which would assist with capital works, education, sports, etc. We must embrace renewables as the way forward. And frankly, that includes venturing into manufacturing of items such as solar panels. We must continue to focus on structural reforms, financial services, digitization and entrepreneurship. Most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, family island development. As we move forward, we must consider the value of collecting taxes by incentivizing taxpayers. I see all this threat about selling properties. Well, let's incentivize taxpayers via tax credits for persons who prepay their taxes, say for up to 3 years. Then becomes a win-win situation. Inter-island travel, Mr. Deputy, is far too expensive in the Bahamas. Flights to the islands are far too costly. I can travel to the United States for less than I can take a trip to certain islands, including my own constituency. And that is ridiculous. That is absurd. Long Islanders have told me that there was a recent mention on the news that the government intends to travel to Long Island to demolish shanty towns. Let me assure all and sundry that there are no shanty towns in Long Island. We police ourselves, and we police that ourselves as well. And so that money that one wants to spend on this trip could be allocated to fixing potholes on our main highway in Long Island. You know, Mr. Deputy, I saw a poem called the Tax Poem. I want to read it. Tax his land, tax his bed, tax the table at which he's fed. Tax his tractor, tax his mule. Teach him taxes are the rule. Tax his work, tax his pay. He works for peanuts anyway. Tax his cow, tax his goat. Tax his pants, tax his coat. Tax his ties, tax his shirt. Tax his work, tax his dirt. Tax his tobacco, tax his drink. Tax him if he tries to think. Tax his cigars, tax his bears. If he cries, tax his tears. Tax his car, tax his gas. Find another way to tax his, and I wouldn't say that word.
That's unfair.
Tax all he has. Then let him know that you won't be done till he has no dough. When he screams and hollers, then tax him some more. Tax him till he's good and sore. Then tax his coffin, tax his grave, tax the sod in which he lays. Put these words upon his tomb. Taxes drove me to my dome. When he's gone, do not relax. It's time to apply the inheritance tax. And Bahamians, many Bahamians can say we're experiencing that right now. Tax, 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 and more tax. And the government's lust for more tax revenue. The government has rushed to increase the fees on even recreational and commercial boat owners without consultation. So me, coming from an island, a fishing island, you can imagine how so many of my constituents have been begging and pleading for me to speak up on this and saying, hey man, you got to get the government to remove the tax on our vessels. This is our means of making a living, whether it's fishing, whether it's guide, tour guide, whether it's some other related activity. Mr. Deputy, you cannot increase any fee, you cannot increase any levy, any tax, whatever word you want to use, by over 10% year over year, and not expect there to be a significant impact on an economy and on the cost of living. So most tax increases, we know, are implemented gradually over multiple years in time. And so you see where persons, the stakeholders, business owners and others will not feel that immediate financial shock as opposed to what we are seeing here today. And so I'm hopeful that this midterm budget, I was hopeful, I should say, that in this midterm budget we would have seen a reversal in the government's horrible policy decision to increase VAT taxes by 100% on breadbasket items, medicines, and other critical and essential everyday items necessary to support the most vulnerable families in this country. Today we face an unprecedented crime wave with almost daily murders of Bahamians. We hear the rhetoric on poverty and crime alleviation, but we await the actions to be accompanied by tangible results. Mr. Deputy, today we heard that there will be an NIB increase on the 1st of July, 2024, by 1.5%. which will be followed in 2 years by another 1.5%. And so by the time as we get to 2044, that'll be a 15% increase on NIB. Mr. Deputy, as we move forward to foster local spending, we should promote VAT-free Fridays and weekends. This would encourage local spending at eateries and other stores. We should mandate a lowering of the interest rates by banks, particularly as it relates to business ventures, land purchases, construction, mortgages. And we should look to lease crown land at fixed rates, which would lend to a great return, as the government's land inventory is large and mostly unused. And then we come to BPL. We hear of the situation at BPL. But even when you look at water and sewage and the water resources, water is a national security issue. It is a major national resource. Most of our water production, though, is in the hands of foreign reverse osmosis operators. And this position cannot subsist into perpetuity. I believe that Bahamians can produce the water. Local water entities can also do so. Because today we are seeing water bills to the tune of some 50 million per year. And all of that money is being sent out of the country, all paid to foreign operators. This money leaves the Bahamas, all of it. We need to reverse course. I tried to do so when I was there. We did some things, but we certainly need to continue with doing that. Mr. Deputy, Long Island could be a leading economic engine in the Bahamas. Our island is once again, though, suffering from neglect and degradation. And I want to, before I continue to speak on Long Island, I want to address an issue. I understand that the member for Central and South Eleuthera made mention of some works in Eleuthera, or that there was not much done in terms of waterworks in Eleuthera during the last administration. And given that I was at the helm of the corporation at the time, I can assure the country that that is not just untrue, but easily disproven. A search of any newspaper record would show that. And I have any number of speeches. This is a speech here on the 17th of May 2019 given at the Eleuthera Business Outlook. I'm prepared to table these. This is a budget speech which shows that we spent millions and millions of dollars in getting the water infrastructure up to par in Eleuthera, and furthermore, even more than that. Since my time, I'm 3 years removed from that. Water and Sewage has had 2 executive chairmen since then, one of whom hails from Eleuthera. Mr. Deputy, what I find most regrettable, though, is as I go into my constituency and get word from different islands, I've been made to understand that over the last 2 years, plaques and nameplates that were placed on projects that we did during my tenure for water and sewage have been removed. Anything bearing my name has been removed. I find that most despicable, that these nameplates would be removed from buildings and infrastructure that we would have built or commissioned. And I see it in my own constituency. It's despicable and nasty. It should never happen, because I would never support that happening with anyone. If we were on this side, I would never support that. Mr. Deputy, Long Island has returned to being the sleeping giant in the southern Bahamas. We are again lagging behind our sister islands in a state of near hibernation on these islands, as these other islands have passed us by, and our economy and our infrastructure has deteriorated year over year. For many years, we have felt as though we were the forgotten outsider in the island chain, and now we feel so yet again. Mr. Deputy, our island, unfortunately, is depopulating. Our economy is in a wheelchair, and we are in desperate need of further governmental intervention to turn our fate around. Notwithstanding the appreciable contribution, whether it's financial, intellectual, cultural, or otherwise, of Long Islanders to the growth and overall development of the Bahamas, Long Island remains barely accessible. And so the lack of airlift to our island is killing Long Island. This has held us back. And one of the immediate issues we have right now concerns Bahamas Air. I've raised this here before. Bahamas Air comes to us just about every day. But the issue is the seats are divided, 19 between Long Island and 19 for San Salvador, because it's a joint flight. And because of the hill, the flight can't come full. So right now, Long Islanders have always been able to fill a full Bahamas Air flight ourselves. In fact, we could do it twice a day. So we are asking that that position of Bahamas Air, where they are joining us to San Salvador, is reconsidered. Because it's really, it causes us to not be able to, first of all, get tourists, the tourists to want to come to Long Island, struggling with trying to get a seat. It hurts our economy, and even our inter-island transport is affected by it negatively. We had an airport for which plans were drawn, for which money was allocated, for which bids came in and contractors were selected. What happened to our airport? We had an international port of entry and train, Mr. Deputy, with a runway of at least 6,500 feet, a decent terminal with concession and other booths that could seat and hold about 150 to 200 people at any given time, an apron to receive the traffic, an area for customs and immigration, and parking space for vehicles. What happened to it? You know, recently, Mr. Ellis Major has pumped millions into Long Island with a new investment that I think he's just finishing off there, rooms and various other facilities. I remember taking water there when I was at the helm of water and sewage. However, for him to properly operate, him and many of the hotel operators, they need the airlift. This is why the airport is so pivotal to Long Island's progress. This would also lend to further diversifying Long Island's economy and support growth in agriculture and fisheries, entrepreneurship, and manufacturing. So after many years, many decades of waiting, so many decades of socioeconomic decline and depopulation, we continue to wait, and we are hoping against all odds for our airport. Mr. Deputy, the water mains expansion project in Long Island has completely stopped. We built and installed a brand new reverse osmosis plant in McKinsey's Long Island, along with a huge storage tank that could hold hundreds of thousands of gallons. Why was that taken offline? Why was the water truck removed after the general election? Brand new water truck to service those areas that did not have water pipes run to them, South Long Island and other parts of North Long Island, including areas when the Cape Santa Maria runs out of water, they have challenges with their own plant, they call upon water and sewage. And then, of course, there was a Caribbean Development Bank water project, which would have extended the water mains from Stella Maris to Seymour's. What happened to it? Why was it canceled? And so waterworks were also canceled between Thompson Bay, Millis, McCann's, Sam McKinnon's, those settlements where we were seeking to connect the water mains between Wimses and Salt Pond. And so although we sent up the pipes, although Mr. Brenville Miller cleaned the roadside, cleared it down, and there was a trencher to go down and do the works, nothing has been done since. Over many years, Mr. Deputy, Long Island has faced a lengthy list of infrastructural concerns that are not addressed or have been addressed in part. But we certainly need more works in Long Island. Given that, and our island's designation as a major island, the fact that we lack infrastructure, Long Island continues to be deemed a hardship island. And we'd like to see our sense of hope and progress restored. Mr. Deputy, we are in need of a number of culverts, seawalls. We have drainage issues. We have flooding in areas like Millis and Wimses, to crossings, Pindus, to Bight, Grease, Lower Dedmondsky, Hamilton's. So we need drainage infrastructure to be put in these areas. Clinton's, Milton, Sims, Buckley's, we need seawalls in those areas. And then, of course, you look at some of the concerns faced by residents where the water settles for weeks and weeks in places like Scrub Hill and Hamilton's, White Pond, Point Ground, Clinton's, Grays, and Cabbage Point. Mr. Deputy, we are in need of urgent paving of some of our side roads, O'Neill's Road, Hogan's Road, Harding's Road, Dunmore's, Turnbull, Church Street, and so many others desperately need to be paved. We've had no work on those arteries for quite some time. The main Kings Highway is in desperate need of work. We've had patchwork done here and there, but the highway is pretty much riddled by potholes. Anyone going to Long Island would tell you about the driving experience, and I'm sure the member for Pinewood, who recently went to Long Island, would have had that experience. So we are grateful for the continuation of the works in North Long Island, but we would like to see various important swaths of roadway on the Kings Highway, as well as the newly renamed J.B. Carroll Highway, paved and/or patched. You know, we renamed part of the Kings Highway J.B. Carroll Highway, but even that is riddled with potholes. We need to stripe the Queens Highway in Long Island using cat eyes, which would assist with accidents and so on, preventing accidents. We need signage at government offices. We need major replacement of blown BPL lights from Gordon's to Seymour's. And we want to see the construction of at least a couple of parks and green spaces on the island. We believe, Mr. Deputy, that we are lagging behind greatly. You know, some islands have a brand new administrators complex. We're using a very small facility as the administrators complex in both Clarence Town and in Sims. We'd like to see the construction of a multi-purpose building in Long Island, whether it's for hurricanes, sports, whatever. We'd like to see that. And so we have a number of infrastructural concerns that we are hoping that we can get something before the end of this term, because we are definitely lagging behind, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I was glad to hear the member for Angliston's commentary with respect to special education teachers. And I'm hopeful that once the new recruits are onboarded, that Long Island will also receive its special education teachers, because as I've said before, we are kids. We have a number of children on the island that have special needs. Some of them are kept home or hidden by parents. And we need those children to be able to experience the educational process as well. We have teacher shortages on the island, particularly at NGM Major, where we have at least 4 teachers that will be out or already out. And I believe, my understanding is that the school has now embraced a virtual learning platform. And so we are requesting that we urgently have teachers assigned to the NGM Major High School, as well as the other schools on the island, to ensure that education continues without interruption. Mr. Deputy, there's a greater, when it comes to family island development, there's greater need for strategic planning, and economic activity must be directed towards our family islands. I believe there must be greater incorporation of farmers markets, salt harvesting and processing, expanding our fisheries sector, and looking at other areas like conch farming and so on. I'm hopeful that the government does indeed move to reduce these boat fees that has been so onerous upon my fishermen and other persons in the tourism and fisheries sector. I've always had this view, Mr. Deputy, that Long Island can be a bedrock of farming. You look at South Long Island, for example. South Long Island could easily accommodate thousands of cattle on expansive cattle farms. And I'll expand on that at another time. With respect to BAIC, I'm inviting the member for Southern Shores come on down to Long Island, bring your pop-up farmers market. You know, we look forward to having you down. And we'd also want to reinvigorate farmers in a way, perhaps attract the attention of young persons. You know, this could lend to, you know, others getting into processing and all that good stuff. I commend Long Islanders such as Mrs. Sharon Cartwright, Mrs. Sharon Chili Cartwright, who make and preserve local products, such as sauces from pepper, tomato, tamarind, guava, and other native vegetables. She has some of the best jam and jelly in the world. I always encourage Bahamians to buy Bahamian. Last night I spoke to the member for Fort Charlotte about the possibility of getting immigration officers into Long Island, and he has graciously agreed to look into it, to assist. Frankly, we have a number of ports, 2 major marinas at least, one in the north, one in the south, and other smaller ones. And then we have air traffic coming in. And I know Customs have complained a bit about having to do both jobs. So I'd be grateful for Long Island to have at least 1 to 2 immigration officers assigned to the island. As I conclude, Mr. Deputy, I want to speak on health. We applaud our healthcare professionals throughout the Bahamas. We especially applaud our team in Long Island. And it's critical that we have modernized health facilities on the island.
Honorable member, are you requesting more time?
Mr. Deputy, I'd need another 3 minutes. Thank you, sir. We'd also wish to see the proposed works that were supposed to happen at the Dedmanski Clinic. And I have one of the documents from that presentation. Renovation of the triage, emergency and dental rooms, the asthma bay, and the inpatient wards. The upgrade of the electrical service and air conditioning system to include negative pressure. The addition of a trauma room, a diagnostic room, and the purchase of an ambulance. And this was for the Dedmanski Clinic. And we're also hopeful that the government will speedily accept the ambulance that I would have had Alive donate. And the minister has given me an undertaking that they are working on that. And I hope that that comes to fruition real soon. Mr. Deputy, as I said, our clinics in Long Island are lacking in medicine, needing infrastructural works, and the morgue in the south is in need of repairs. We're looking forward to that happening in the very, very near future. Mr. Deputy, as I conclude, I want to note that with respect to youth sports and culture, we're happy to see the return of community sporting leagues, and I want to give respect to Jermaine Adderley and others involved in that. I fully support that. It is good to see organized sport getting back into full swing in Long Island. However, our sporting facilities need to be maintained and upgraded, and so we're looking forward to seeing our sporting facilities be paid greater attention. And as I said earlier, we're also in need of green spaces and community parks. Mr. Deputy, with those few words, I thank you and I rest.